Today I want to explain a bit about myself. The people that have come to know me in the movement in the last 5 years, many more so in the last 2 years specifically, they connect with me and trust me. Now I feel that, which is why I can stand up here and say that openly to you. For the newcomers, I'd like to give you the quick version of my life to this point. So when I was a kid, my dad was driving me to school, and I remember feeling discontent with the state of the world and how it operates. As a kid, you're dragged away from your family and you're forced to go to school. When you finish primary school, you go to secondary school. After that, you're forced into the workforce. You work till you're 70. You might have 3 years of ill health, and then you pass away. And I wasn't happy with that. There was something better, and I didn't like the way that was going. Around the same time, I was having a recurring dream as a child. It was my mum and my sister. We were holding hands, walking on the school oval. There was these little things hovering over us. They were either government or police, and they were surveilling us. And there was heaps of other people walking around casually smiling like there was nothing wrong. I felt very uncomfortable and I was wondering what the hell is going on? Why are these things watching us? And we'll get back to that dream soon. In the first year of high school, my dad took myself and my sister into his room, turned off the lights, lit a candle. He said, sit down and stare at the flame. So without thinking, I just sat down, stared at the flame. I wasn't expecting anything in particular. And it might have been 3 minutes or it might have been 30. But I left my body and I went into the flame. I was too young to handle that experience. I freaked out and I came back into my body very quickly and I started crying. But from that point, I knew that there's something we're not being told about this realm that we're in, and there's something powerful, and they don't want us to know about it. The events around 9/11, I started researching those events very heavily and discovered that this world is being run by a bunch of psychopaths willing to kill their own people to take profit and control of other lands. So I started speaking out and warning people around that time. In 2016, my son had severe reactions to 12 months of vaccinations. Before we gave him that shot, he was talking, sleeping, eating, playing well, happy. He was a little champion cruising around. The world was at his feet. Then we gave him those shots, and he experienced termination of speech, absent seizures, started waking up 20 times a night screaming, refused to eat, had constant diarrhea, was clung to his mum's hip, wouldn't let me near him. The kid changed overnight. So I let the ball drop, and they got my son. As a father, my sole job was to protect my family, and I let my guard down. So I started researching vaccines and the pharmaceutical industry. And what I uncovered was horrendous. Their own science proves that they're frauds if you just take the time to read it yourself. So then I really started speaking out. Because I couldn't sit by any longer and watch innocent children and families go through what my son and my family did, although there's so many other families and children that are way worse off than us. My son's recovering very well. He's back on track. He's sweet. But it's happening every day and he needs to stop. In February of 2019, my brother was murdered in cold blood. He was an innocent victim. And I'll admit, when I watched the news reports of the bail hearing and seeing the young fools smiling with a blasé attitude, knowing they had hundreds of thousands of dollars of barristers supporting them, I wanted to go get those 6 individuals and I wanted to make them pay. My partner walked in at that time and I burst into tears. It was at that point that I realised something dark had got hold of me, and the thought of acting in violence was purely for my own emotional benefit. All men were of a Greek background, and I found myself starting to dislike Greeks. That gave me much inner conflict, the prejudice that I've never felt before in that sort of way. I knew straight away that I needed to find it in myself to forgive these humans, the youngest being 16 and the oldest being 60, for their adolescent and subhuman behaviour. I had 9 months to truly forgive them before I was scheduled to travel down to Melbourne for the next court appearance. And I did achieve this as one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. The significance The significance and importance in telling you all this story is because the fact is that humans make mistakes. They didn't bust into that house to murder my brother. In fact, they didn't even know he was there. My brother was a big unit, a heavyweight kickboxer, and they quickly realised they bit off more than they could chew. So they resorted to the iron bars and the sawn-off shotgun, and that's how it all went down. So like I was saying, people make mistakes, and we need to learn to be able to forgive each other, because people make mistakes, and that is part of life, and how we learn, and how we develop as people. And if we can't develop individually, then we can't develop as a unit. If I can forgive this group for their stupidity after they have taken my brother's life, leaving my 5 nieces and nephews without a father, then we all should be able to forgive our loved ones for almost anything. Life is too short to hold on to negative emotions, guys. I freed myself from anger, hate and resentment, and I had to do it myself by looking deep inside me. Just like you'll need to do for yourself if you want to correct your shortcomings. Then we can all move forward together, and that's why this story is relevant today. It also just so happens that the 5th of the 6 men was sentenced yesterday. He'll be out of prison in 3 years. So there's the justice system for you. Anyway, then 2020 came along, marking the biggest scam, the biggest fraud, and the biggest crime ever committed against humanity. Everything I almost 100% knew was the truth of the inner workings of this world for the previous 15 years was verified at the start of 2020. It was evident that I was witnessing the tool that they were using to implement the rollout of the NWO. And that's not a conspiracy. One of the early clips in 2020 that sticks out was from the UK during lockdown. The police were using a drone to monitor people, to making sure they weren't going outside the house or weren't going outside the 5K radius. They were using facial recognition technology. By the time those people got back home, there was an email with a fine waiting for them. Now remember the recurring dream I was telling you earlier. As soon as I saw this news clip, my mind flashed back to this recurring dream of the police object hovering in the sky, surveilling my family. And a shiver went through my whole body, and I had goosebumps on goosebumps. And that is exactly what it was in my dream. It was a drone. I was 7 years old when I was having these recurring dreams. And I'll tell you now, drones didn't exist in 1992. I was being told of what is to come, and I'll tell you right now that I've been sent here to fight this war. My job is to empower the people, help the people rise up and win the war in doing so. The war lies with you guys. You have the power. No individual does. We have to act as a powerful unit. Everybody needs to start looking for connection within themselves, the connection with themselves, the connection with each other, the connection with the land, and with the connection above, that faith. Because it exists, and if you can find it, then you'll start seeing all these doors open for you. And when you start walking through those doors, magical things start to happen and you start making progress. Now, I've never had anxiety in my life. When I started to see all these things unfold in 2020, I had 3 nights in a row of anxiety. At the start of 2020, before that, my partner asked me to step back because I was working for a not-for-profit organisation and I was spending a lot of my time doing not-for-profit work in the vaccine awareness front. And I said, "You're right, I'll step back." On the 3rd night of the anxiety, I looked at my partner when we were in bed and I said, "I'm going to go harder than I've ever gone before." And she looked back at me and said, "Babe, do what you got to do and make this stop." And I've been going hard ever since. Together with the people, we've built it from 1,500 people to over 100,000 in just 18 months. We had no money, we had no platform, but we've done it together because we wanted to, because we need to. For my efforts, my family and I have been the subject of police harassment and intimidation campaigns. They park squad cars out the front of her house. They wait for me to go to work so they can have a chat with my missus. I've been charged at events. I've been charged at 2 events just like this for breaching Chief Health Officer directions. There was 10,000 other people there. 9,999 didn't get charged. I got charged. Speaking of which, guys, if you were at the August 23 or September 5 in 2020, can you please go see Nicola on that tent behind us and give her your name and email? My trial is in February. Okay, I'll make the announcement now. The trial is on February 17th at 9 AM at the Magistrates Court. We want to fill it with people in TPR shirts. Well, what I'm asking for is anybody that was at August 23 or September 5 rally of 2020 to go give your name and your email and your number to Nicola. We're going to get some affidavits written up to present this case in a different way. So they've come to work, they've busted into my work in fabricated charges such as they caught me driving on suspended licence. They follow that up 4 days later, they turn up at my house, come to my gate. I say, do you have a warrant to be in? They say no. I say, good, I'll call my lawyer. They're there to take my guns and revoke my firearms and my firearms licence, citing recent suspension of driver's licence as one of the reasons why they're taking my firearms and my firearms licence, which I had thrown out in court, by the way. This intimidation campaign was verified by the 150 pages of police intel I have recently received, in which they state the TPR founder Tristan is currently the subject of ongoing police attention. However, it is apparent that he remains dissuaded. Damn straight I remain dissuaded. In fact, all this does is feed the fire inside me and let me know that I'm hitting the mark, and so is the revolution. I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to stop until I know the future generations are safe. And if it takes my whole life, so be it. We the people don't need permission to gather peacefully in a park and discuss issues. We will never ask for permission to do that. I don't care if it's in the middle of a lockdown. If we want to gather peacefully in the park, we're going to gather peacefully in the park. Because those guys, although we don't want the permission, don't need the permits or any of that, they still have offered to work with us, so we work with them and make sure everybody's safe. The Guardians are here. We've got about 15 to 20 Guardians here today. That if there's any instigation, sort them out, where the Queensland Police may or may not be waiting for you. So there should be no problems here today, hey guys? We're all a family, hey? Call out, guys. If you trust me, if you appreciate my efforts, and you want me to help me keep up the fight, then please consider becoming a donor to my Patreon account. You can do it for $5 a month or as much as you want. If there's one job on the website, it's www.patreon.com/tricky. There's I think we've got core flute, like little posters. There's one on this tent here. There's one on the merchandise tent, and there's QR code. You know, I've listed the reasons there. I've only just started being able to actually sit up here and ask for help. If it does, or end up in a divorce, or have to step back from this. None of those